Hey, what is up, Nicsmas 2021? Just wait a moment here. Make sure we're all situated. Let me know that you can hear me so I don't ramble for like 5 minutes like yesterday, thinking I was live. Drop a comment. We have a low number of viewers today. It's Tuesday. It's fine. This replay will be up for about 24 hours. There will not be further replay. There will be some replays moving forward. Good morning. Changing some stuff up. How to get the fire hose of the face out of the way. How to really lay the foundation. And I'll tell you guys this for those of you that are here early. Some people know this. I've mentioned it a few times. Nicsmas is really like we're going to do something really cool on my birthday, which is the 28th. So if you're available, I think it's a Tuesday. So if you're available, we'll do a morning and a PM session. PM will be for VIPs. I'll explain the criteria for VIPs later on. So just know that if you can be available, go Hawks. Oh yeah, that's right. We got a game today. Goofy Tuesday game. So Nicsmas 2021. Like I was saying, I'm kind of going all in. I was not going to do Nicsmas this year, but there's a lot of stuff that I think might be useful if I put it out there. May not be. Again, I'm never making an argument that I am right. I could change my perspective on these things next year, the year after that. The whole key to keeping time and randomness on your side is to be open to new possibilities, be receptive to things that maybe I cannot conceive of right now. One piece of information, which I think my goal is to do this for other people, really help with this, right? Is present one key piece of information. You can watch 16 hours of video and it's 5 minutes that fills a gap in knowledge that changes the reality of everything you know. And that's scary for people. They want to hold on to the reality, but if you've ever seen a thing where you're like, wow, and then you sleep on it and you wake up and all of a sudden everything that you've experienced, everything that you thought, it just has a little bit of a different meaning now that you have this piece. That can always happen. So consider Nicsmas. Consider everything you read, from me or otherwise. This is my opinion or my suggestion. Everything you watch from me or anybody else, consider it incomplete. Even if it has a start, middle, and an end. There is always new information that can reveal itself, that can change the meaning of things. And if that is not true for you, then I don't know that you should be here. If you just are you looking for ways to validate your beliefs? I can always tell when somebody is trying to get me to say something or point them to a book so that they can steal a quote and try to prove to their friends that they're smart or they're right. That's not the point. It's not the purpose. People are messaging me. I said at the very beginning, just hold these open loops for 12 days. Just hold on to them. Don't search for answers. Just for 12 days. Let things be open and be perceptive. And I'm getting messages like, well, I have a question. What does this mean? Yesterday, somebody messaged me looking for answers for them about what yesterday meant. Like they couldn't sit for 24 hours with some questions. How can you possibly be curious in a productive way if you cannot sit with open loops for more than a day? You are not being perceptive if you're trying to close these loops. You're trying to get answers. What does it mean for me? You got to tell me right now. I have this anxiety because there's uncertainty now. That we've talked about it. We want uncertainty in the short term, right? We want uncertainty, and we don't want to come from a place of fear. We want to come from a place of curiosity. Curiosity is the key word. All right, so Nicsmas 2021, a.k.a. directions for acting like an adult or don't act like an asshole. You pick the one. I got a message today from a parent, good friend of mine, partner of mine actually, and he his 7-year-old son said, "When is Nick going to be on? I promise I won't call anybody an asshole at school today." That brings me joy. So whichever one fits your delicate sensibilities. Directions for directions for acting like an adult or don't act like an asshole. You can pick which acronym best suits your dispositions. But stop looking for answers. That's the problem. A great scientist, a great innovator, they aren't looking for answers. It's super counterintuitive because you have been taught, we've talked about this, you have been taught that Smart people have answers, and that is not true. People that don't have intellectual security that want you to think they're smart have answers. Great innovators, great scientists, great business owners, the Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezos, anybody, you think about like the Rosa Parks, you'd go anywhere, anybody that's changed the world or had an impact and been able to move themselves forward in a positive way is looking for better questions. Looking for better questions to ask. So that's where I'm coming from. I had to tell my son A-hole stood for awesome hole in the comments. That's fantastic. I really do enjoy. I don't know if you guys care. I love how many people have their family listen. People like my wife listen to this, my husband listen, my son, my daughter, my mom. One person said their parrot listens and makes noises. It's awesome. But I encourage you to stop looking for answers and start looking for better questions. I say, when I come from a place of curiosity, you're not coming from a place of curiosity if you're looking for a definite answer. And again, you find a definite answer, you're likely to remember it, which violates the principle of having a bad memory, so that you have to re-reason and ask better questions. Right? So Facepalm and Nicsmas Day surprise. This is a little bit of a Facepalm day, and I will explain why. And as I said, Nicsmas Day, so that's a 28th. I think it's a Tuesday. I'm going to do a morning session. It's going to be the big one, the big reveal, big reveal for a lot of people. Some people might already know what's coming. And in the PM, so that night, I'm going to do something just for VIP members. How do you qualify for VIP? Only two. You already enrolled in Nicsmas Decentralized earlier on this year. That's one. Two, you put down a deposit to join the next CCA program. That's it. There is no other route to VIP. Do not ask me. Do not tell me about your unique situation. I know you're a special snowflake. COVID and special snowflake syndrome are both going around these days. And I am sorry, but those are the two ways. So the VIP day, which is Nicsmas PM session, deposit for CCA, or you've already enrolled in Nicsmas Decentralized, which was months ago that I did that enrollment. It is not open again. It's not open again. Pay attention. And again, my style is I reward people that do things early. And over time, people learn to either trust me because I delivered or don't trust me because I didn't. That's okay. I want our follow through on the promise to be the reason people buy stuff, not the promise we make them. Okay, so here is why it's a Facepalm day. Remember, just so we don't go too far without keeping contact with the point of it all, we want to keep luck on our side. We do that by keeping time and randomness on our side. We do not want to be in direct opposition with time and randomness. They will win. They are undefeated. I am shocked at how many of you continue to think you are going to beat time and to think you are going to overcome randomness, that nothing unexpected will happen to you. The fact that you plan like you live in a vacuum, even though you look at the windshield thinking, oh, yep, clear skies out there. Look in the rearview mirror and you will recognize in the past, every time you thought there was clear skies, you were wrong. Somehow we haven't updated our operating system to consider that. So I strongly recommend that. Boom, 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 boom. I'm looking at the comments here, okay? So open loops, receptivity. Just be open to new things. Stop trying to close the loops. That's okay if you want to live in a false sense of certainty. It's not okay if you want to keep cruising in Nicsmas in a way that might be productive for you. All right, 6-word updates. Go ahead and hit your 6-word updates. We've got some great ones. We already have 40 of them. Let's see what we got. Slept in, been a long time. Awesome. Awesome. I love to see these ones. Look at that. Don't close open loops too quickly. Sometimes you guys can read my mind with your 6-word updates. Life throws curveballs. Learning to pivot. Yes, life is a curveball. I don't know why people, again, that's a very aligned with the vacuum, right? Like we assume we're just going to get fastballs right down the middle all the time. We plan as if that's what's going to happen. It's not. It's a giant curveball. Life is a knuckleball. Loyalty sucks sometimes. Go Arizona Cardinals. No. Fake news. Go Seahawks. It's the only acceptable 6-word update. Did I like this? I think I like that. That was a mistake. Pretend like I didn't like that. Yeah, go Seahawks. So get your 6-word updates in. We're going to see a lot of... you're going to see a lot of... it's going to get harder and harder, right? Getting your thoughts this clear and concise is difficult. You are going to come out on the other end of this. Now, Tina is in the comments. I see that. She's a certified advisor, a certainty certified advisor. So she's been through this. We did 6-word updates, case in points, and it just refines your ability to really get down to the essence of what is important. It's very, very powerful. Hey, quote of the day. Stop it. Bob Newhart. If you know, you know. It's a skit on Saturday Night Live where he basically says he's a therapist and people tell him his problems. He says, okay, well, you're paralyzed because you're afraid of getting buried in a box. Yes. Okay, well, stop it. Like, just stop it. And I'll explain why that is the quote of the day shortly. So here's what I was planned. I was going to talk a little bit about chess and checkers, and I'll touch on it because we do have 6 more days. And strengthen your position on the board. A lot of people are approaching life like checkers. It's just this constant incremental move forward. Always move forward, forward, forward. Incremental gains, 1% a day, like all this stuff. And that's not how you go exponential. It's not. Because what we know is time and randomness are going to pass, right? And there's 3 to 5, on average, 3 to 5 points in the year. We don't know when they're coming. They're going to come out of nowhere. Some opportunity you could never have conceived of. And if you are playing checkers, you will miss it. You will be so focused on moving your piece forward to the next square, you will miss these opportunities to drastically collapse time, remove risk, get closer to what you want. What a master checker player does, and life is life is a lot more like chess. But it's like 3D chess, and also they can change the rules and introduce new players whenever they want. So chess in and of itself is a complex game. Life is like, oh, by the way, these were the rules you were playing, but now you can't gather in public. Oh, new rule. What master chess players are doing, because they understand there is going to be randomness. It's going to happen. Right? All these pieces can make so many different moves that if any chess player ever did exactly what we expected, like everything would be a draw. So there's going to be something unexpected, and time is going to pass. And the more time that passes, the more random things can become, the further away we get from what we expect. So what a great chess player does, and what a very effective human does, is they strengthen their position on the board. It's not just move forward, move every piece forward all the time, right? A move that appears like a retreat could strengthen your position on the board, just like in life. People may say, oh, you could move forward, plow forward. Like, no, I'm not going to swim upstream because I recognize I'm swimming upstream. I'm going to sit over here. I'm going to rest. I'm going to wait for, a better opportunity. I'm going to sit over here while you're swinging. You're playing checkers because you're swinging your axe and it's dull. I'm going to sit over here and I'm going to sharpen my axe. I'm strengthening my position. I am back to yesterday. Right? I'm improving my capacity to produce. Strengthen your position on the board. All that means opportunity could show up right now. You could clone me, and one of us is like, I got to forge forward, forge, move, work, fill my day, block out my hours, have a plan, step-by-step plan, and just grind. And then you have me, who's me. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take a nap. I don't see the efficient path forward. I'm going to master a skill. I'm going to make sure that I don't waste my resources on something I'm not clear about. And I'm going to wait. Right? And so an observer, it's like a Rocky movie. He's like, whoa, look at that guy working so hard. It's a Rocky music in the background. The reality is we know that an opportunity is going to present itself. And whoever is in the strongest position to take advantage of that opportunity is probably the one that is going to capitalize on that opportunity. Right? So somebody comes along, a huge opportunity, version 1 of me is tired, is overworked, doesn't have a lot of resources, because it's been blowing it all, trying to make incremental gains, cannot capitalize on opportunity. The other version of me, fresh, rested, has the capital and the resources because one person was trying to incrementally forge forward and the other was strengthening their position on the board, understanding time is going to pass, the unexpected is going to happen. I want to be in a position. Now, sometimes the path ahead is clear. When the path ahead is clear, you go. If you have the wind at your back, take it. Most of the time, you don't have the wind at your back. Right? So it's really about strengthening your position on the board. We'll talk about that more in later days. That's what I was going to talk about today in depth. However, I keep a really tight contact with reality, which means you will see. A lot of times people ask, man, how, when you say something, it's like, how do you know me so well? It's like you're talking to me. It's like, yeah, I keep a contact with reality. I don't talk about trading crypto if I'm not doing it for many hours a day. Most teachers, most coaches, most consultants, very general statement here, it's not throwing stones at any individual. People teaching ads haven't run ads for years. They don't have a contact with reality. I am having conversations with people. I am watching people go, oh, I totally get this Nicsmas concept, and then going to like a Telegram group or a Facebook group and their behavior and the questions they ask, recommend, they have no freaking clue. It is not clicking to them. That is a contact with reality, right? It's very important to me that we remain like in reality. We keep a tight contact with what's actually happening. People go, oh yeah, I totally understand that. I will ask better questions. I will keep open loops. And then 20 minutes later, you see them in somewhere asking horrible questions, trying to close loops. So, and obviously I have an orientation toward the most efficient path forward. And right now, again, this was the plan. You'll notice that I do my best to live by my principles. This was the plan, but we don't stick rigidly to a plan when it reveals itself as not being the most efficient path forward. So we changed the plan. I changed the plan at about 7 o'clock this morning, about 2 hours ago. I said, you know what? Based on the information in front of me, this is no longer the most efficient path. And I'm okay changing it because I don't stick rigidly to something that is no longer the most efficient way forward. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense, and you can see that I'm not teaching things and then trying to behave this way. The way that I operate is I work very, very hard on my own behavior, and I try to understand things, and then I turn around and I try to share it in a way that is understandable or palatable. So it's very different. I'm a doer first and a sharer second. Most people just like to teach shit they read in a book somewhere, and you can observe them and you can see that, again, totally understand how to recite the Good Samaritan and treat people like shit in real life. Like, there's a disconnect. It's really important to keep a tight contact with reality. This is, based on my contact with reality, the new most efficient path forward. Pretty sure I know what I'm going to be doing the next 6 days, and that might change based on evidence. If you're not willing to change things based on evidence, clearly things are not clicking for you up to this point. We've spent enough hours together that should make sense to you. All right, so we're going to talk instead about the case of the accidental a-hole, awesome hole. Notice how case is capitalized. I'm pulling the next two concepts straight out of the CCA. And I'll talk a little bit about the CCA in a minute. Okay, the case of the accidental a-hole. I see a lot of really nice people that mean very well and they have been successful in their own rights, and they are being total a-holes. Total a-holes. Let me explain what this looks like. It is when urgency meets greed meets fear, all simultaneously. You see somebody in a rush because they want everything and they're also terrified. This is a recipe for very smart, nice, kind, successful people to turn into a-holes and be destructive to themselves and the people around them and have no idea that they are doing it, which means they continue to do it over and over and over. I'm going to show you a very advanced graphic. This is like, probably need like 12 PhDs to even create this graphic, or let alone, to understand it, let alone create it. Okay? Your accountant CPA, that's Tina. CCA opened new opportunities for me, and that's what it's all about. It's all about opening opportunities. That's what it's all about. And then getting you in a position as a CCA student to understand how to be receptive and capitalize on them, right? So here's this graphic. You could try to draw this if you want. It's very advanced. When you have greed and urgency and fear intersect, you are being an a-hole. If you let this happen, let that sink in for a moment. This is what we're going to talk about. There's two main topics today, okay? Because the time to stress about a decision is before it's made. You ever bet on horse races or been to the casino and you roll the dice or you make the bet, and then the whole time you're like, oh shit, what did I do? And now you're analyzing the scenario. What happens if I win? What happens if I lose? What are the consequences if this doesn't go right? Oh, what happened? Those are all things that needed to happen before you rolled the die, before you put the money down, because you are an anxious wreck and you've probably made a bad decision and you are probably not prepared for the consequences. Unfortunately, just enough people win. They have positive outcomes from poor decisions often enough for us to think this behavior is acceptable. I'm not saying you can't bet on things. I like to bet on things. But we do this in business. We hire a business coach. I'm like, oh man, should we have done that? Yeah. We have buyer's remorse. Now we're a pain in the ass client for them because we're kind of doubting our decision. We're kind of a pain to our partners because they either pressured us into it or we pressured them into it. Now we got to justify it. And we're not really sure what we signed up for, but now there's all this, all of this is happening unnecessarily. We need to recapture all of that, remove all that stress and anxiety. Okay? And the way that we do that, and this is, I got this acronym from Dan Nicholson, who got it from somebody else, I'm sure. But this is what we talk about. This case framework. I'm going to work through it really quick because people are like, oh, a framework. I don't have time for this. Well, look, first is compile. We've changed this to collect recently. Compile, analyze, strategize, execute. You can do this in 5 to 10 minutes sometimes if you're a human calculator, right? The issue is we get greed, we get FOMO, we see high APY, we see high APR, we see that somebody else has something we don't and we want it. And we jump in and we go, I want that, and we execute. You just put yourself and everybody else at risk because it is a very high probability that you are now going to be erratic and have urgency. And being erratic with urgency is dangerous. You are being an a-hole. I know you were scared of missing out, so you just did this thing. Right? But you cannot execute until you have strategized. I just talked to somebody this morning. And it was like, no, they said I made a bad decision. I had a positive outcome. Right? And actually, the decision they made was not a bad one, given the criteria. The mistake was that they didn't have a strategy in investing. So I'm going to get in this, and this is why. All right, that's a good reason to get in. When are you getting out? What is your decision criteria for getting out? They never had that. They executed with no strategy. Now, there's hundreds of thousands of people in Telegram groups. They're panicking. Now, if you're in a Telegram group panicking, the support team and the admins and all the people that are paid to support you cannot provide appropriate support. Everybody's mad at them. This is in the crypto world specifically, but it's true everywhere, right? Everybody's mad that they're not getting the answers they want, but they're the a-holes that are making it impossible to provide answers because in their erratic behavior and their state of emergency, they're not asking good questions. They're not even entirely sure what they did. They just did it so they didn't miss out. They executed before they strategized. Okay, you cannot strategize until you have analyzed what is going on, and you can't analyze something you have not compiled. So we do this. We do this with our CCA students. We help them do that with their clients and their partners. And we do this internally where we're like, ooh, there's a thing. Should we do that? First, we must compile. Then we analyze. Then we strategize. Literally, it could take 20 minutes sometimes. You can say, all right, oh, if he's going to do that, I want to do that. But as soon as I get a 2X, I'm cashing out. So let me analyze and make sure that this is safe, and let me compile the contract address and the network it's on, right? So boom, you got this. You can analyze it, decide that it's safe. Your strategy is, as soon as I do this, as soon as it goes 2X, I'm going to cash out, and then you execute it. Most people, you have two kinds of people that are very, very dangerous. One is more dangerous than the other. The first is they just go straight to strategizing. These are mostly visionaries. They just have a whole bunch of ideas, and the risk they run is they just want to tell everybody their ideas. Nothing ever comes of it. The second is the people like I have a propensity for this. I just do stuff. I want to execute. Okay? That's what most people are doing because they have an urgency because they're afraid they're going to miss out, and they want all the upside. Do not make the bet. Do not kick off the ad campaign. Do not pay the consultant. Do not, if you have not come up with a strategy, if then, which you cannot do until you have analyzed the landscape. How do you build a strategy around something if you haven't analyzed the landscape? You can't just make up numbers, right? What's realistic? And you can't analyze anything if you haven't compiled it. And this is just a deliberate attempt to gather everything that may be important relative to your personal and economic preferences or principles. So just stop, just slow down. In case, I tell people all the time, like, should we do this? And in our in both business and crypto world, I'm like, what case? Compile all the information. What do you think? Here's a thing. Should we move forward with this partnership? I don't know. Go compile all the information first. Until we've done that, we cannot make a decision because we are being a-holes if we do. How many times have you gotten into a partnership and been like, well, I guess I should have asked these questions first? Like, yeah, no shit. You don't get to stress about it after you make the bet. Just do the work first. Do the work first. That's it. It doesn't have to be a lot. Okay. I'm not going to go super in depth with the case. I just want to present this to you so you can recognize how many times do you chase something, jump into something, and then you're like, okay, shit, well, what's my strategy? And I don't really know. And you start trying to back into all these things, do them all out of order. You are a danger to yourself and everybody else when you do that. I'll give you a quick example. In crypto, we get very good returns. And people go, oh, I want that. And they go, just last night, seems like a phenomenal human being, a really great guy. He goes, how can I skip everything and go straight to this? Well, here's the answer to your question. Okay, cool. But what about? That's an a-hole move. Like, you're putting stress on everybody else to answer all these scattered questions where you clearly haven't compiled the data in a way that you can ask effective questions. Like, that's dangerous. In a small group, in a mastermind, like, you can get away with it and everybody will help you. But that behavior in general is a version of this. Oh no, I'm in a hurry. How can I push this button? Then you push the button. The wheel starts spinning. You're like, oh crap, what did I just do? What's the probability? What happens if I fail? What happens if I win? Stop pushing the button first. Okay? So that is probably the biggest roadblock to most people that are action takers is they keep putting themselves in really bad positions, and the case can literally be 15 minutes long to save you hours, days, months, years of stress and anxiety. Again, that's credit to the CCA. So hopefully that is just helpful. Just think about a case before you do anything. Okay, compile information. What do I need? look at it real quick, analyze what you need to analyze, come up with a quick strategy. Okay, well, if I'm gonna buy this and sell it, at what point do I sell it? What's my if-then statements? All right, got a good idea of that. Boom, then you execute. No more stress and anxiety. You did the work. The problem is you're trying to do the compile, analyze, and strategize after you've executed. That's where that stress and anxiety comes from. You're now running all these scenarios while the die is rolling on the table. You did that to yourself. And your urgency, your panic, all the behaviors that come after that probably negatively impact a whole bunch of other people. So if we want to recapture resources and close the gap, okay, can we agree that making a bad decision, making a decision that violates our personal and economic principles is less than ideal? God damn it, I've been an accidental a-hole so many times. Loop opened. Yeah. So have we all. I would not share this stuff if I had not had to do a ton of work on myself. It's one of the reasons why I can just ramble about it is I don't have to memorize anything. Just share. I know what it feels like. And that's why I'm so adamant, and that's why I'm not ashamed of hitting people over the head with it, because I've been there. Me too, you know? So can we agree? Let me know in the comments. Can we agree that if we want to close the gap, get from where we're at to where we want to be as efficiently as possible, then making decisions that get us further away is a bad idea? Let me know. I want to make sure, because obviously things are not clicking for people. Get in contact with reality. We got a lot of people nodding their head and then going and violating everything we just talked about 20 minutes later. So, are we in agreement? If you want good things, doing bad things is not going to help. If we can agree on that, if we believe that, and we know that we want to keep time and randomness on our side, here is something that we need to do. We need to stop wasting resources. We've talked about this. This is it's always an underpinning of everything, resource allocation. So what if I told you something that I hope resonates? Everybody is going, there's a bias towards positive action. Meaning, what can I do? What do you want me to do? Back to system reliability, you probably need to have less things, but our brain always goes, what can I do? How can I push harder on the gas? How do I move forward? Where's the nitrous oxide button? How can I make this streamlined? Right? These are all versions of our brain saying, I need to move forward faster and do it by pushing harder on the gas. Guess what? Pushing on the gas expends resources. Gasoline is a resource, right? I will argue this is what it looks like to me as an observer of humans in general. Everybody's trying to push harder on the gas. Now imagine watching somebody stress. I got to get there faster. I'm going to run out of gas if I'm not going to have enough resources. And they're pushing harder on the gas, and they're pushing harder on the gas. At the same time, you can see that they are actively also pushing down on the brake. This is what we're doing. And we have no idea we're doing it. We're just like, yeah, push harder, push harder, push harder. So before you push harder on the gas, my recommendation, if we can agree that we're kind of on the same page about not wasting resources, take your foot off the brake. Before you push harder on the gas, take your effing foot off the brake. Drive around with the e-brake on. You want a more efficient path forward? Don't drive around with the e-brake on. Right? So the tool, the biggest tool we can use is if we are clear, if we've done the work. This is again from CCA. This is directly from Dan Nicholson. If we do the work and we're now getting clear on where we at, where we want to be, how to make better decisions, how to no longer violate. So Violating your economic and personal principles relative to what you want is pushing on the brake, right? I want more time with my family. When you make decisions that cause you to spend less time with your family, that's your foot on the brake. You are having a micro strategy, a micro behavior diametrically opposed to what you claim your macro belief and priority is. Foot on the brake. Okay? Now, how about this? Continuing to make a bad decision is the same as making a new bad decision. So we're all oriented towards, I'm going to stop moving forward. I'm going to make less bad decisions. What is not natural for us, because we just look forward, right? We just like pretend like the past doesn't exist because F that. What about all of the things you continue to do that directly violate your economic and personal principles? Let me explain. Have you been in maybe you have a bad relationship, a poor marriage, a poor partnership? So the question is, given what I know today about myself and this situation, would I opt into this? Now that I have this new Nicsmas toolbox, would I opt into this? And if the answer is no, then every minute you stay in it is the same as opting into a bad decision. Give you another example, and this is, I get to be a fly on the wall when Dan does a lot of consulting with finance stuff. Okay? If you have a rental property that, let's say you bought a house. This is an example. I'm probably messing it up, but you buy a house and you lived in it, and you always wanted rental properties. You get married, you move out, and you say, I always wanted rental properties. I'm going to keep this house. I'm going to rent it out. You go buy another house. You mature as an investor. The question is then, okay, so given what you know today, would you buy this house at its current cost as a rental property? And a lot of people would say no. But they'll keep it because it's convenient. However, by not selling the house and reallocating those resources to something that does not violate your personal and economic principles, you are driving around with the e-brake on. You have resources tied up into something that violates your economic and personal principles. Why are you trying so hard to forge forward? Like, get rid of the ball and chain. Take your foot off the brake. Right? So we have to look at things in our life that we've already said, yeah, it's just the way it is. You're making it a million times harder to move forward if you're staying in situations that clearly violate your economic and personal principles. So again, given what I know about this partnership, this marriage, this investment, Floki, this crypto, given what I know now, at the price it's at, would I opt in? If not, you are violating your economic and personal principles by staying in it as it is now. I'll talk about investing in relationships for a minute. The thought is always, well, I'm going to wait until I recoup my money. If you're down on an investment, and you're saying, no, I would not opt into this, but I'm hoping that there's a leg up and I recoup my money and make it back. You do not have the skill set to participate in this activity, because what a great trader does, there's historical evidence of this, is they lock in their losses faster because they know if they had these resources in hand, they could redeploy them somewhere with their skill set and get a greater return. They don't sit around and wait. So there's also, like, if you're in a bad situation, I'm just waiting until it gets a little bit better before I get out. You have to examine, why were you playing this game in the first place? Maybe the thing for you to do is develop a skill set, right? So just, again, traders, and I know I got a lot of crypto people on here. If you're sitting there going, well, it's such a loss, I don't want to sell now, then you don't have a skill set of trading, because a skilled trader would rather sell it and redeploy that, reallocate that. Same with real estate, same with anything else. They would rather reallocate it to somewhere where they can get a greater return because they have the skill set to do so and they trust their skill set. Letting assets sit there in a thing that is violating your economic and personal principles implies that you are hoping and you are playing a game that you clearly did not do a case framework on, because you probably would have come to the decision that you don't have the skill set to play this game, or you would have used a different amount. Those are the difficult things that you got to know about yourself. So here's what we do. We say, given what I know now, would I opt into this? If I wouldn't opt into this, then I'm violating my economic and personal principles, right? That doesn't mean we have to cut bait and run. That means we now have something to focus on. The next question is, what would need to be true for me to say yes? Which is basically, can I turn this into a situation that is not violating my economic personal principles? You may say, well, if this happened, if I could make this recurring income, then I would say yes. Well, now you have an action plan, don't you? Because before you do new things, you should stop violating economic personal principles. So we have this bias towards doing new things. So it's, what would need to be true for me to say yes, I would opt into this? Can I make that true? If yes, that's the highest leverage thing for you to do. Make those things true. If no, then you got to get out. You got to get out, or you forfeit the right to complain. You don't get to knowingly carry around a ball of chain with your foot on the brake and complain about your own progress. That makes you an a-hole. There's just there's a ball and chain. There's a button that you just click it and you get rid of it, and you're not clicking it. You're an a-hole for complaining about that, putting that on everybody else. Right. If you violate your economic and personal principles, are they really your principles? And sometimes you have to fight FOMO, urge, all this stuff, right? So again, convenience is the biggest. We just stay in things and we think the path forward is positive progress, which is probably true. But we never think of the stuff that, we're already doing as being, because we're already doing it. So we never think of it as a path forward, but that's the fastest path forward. Stop violating. Just take your foot off the brake. It's very obvious in certain contexts. We completely miss it in others. So that is the investor frame. You just look at all the things in your life. I know you want to do all kinds of new stuff because you think new stuff is how you move forward. It's not. But I know you think that, and I understand. What are all the things I'm already doing, all the situations I'm in, partnerships, relationships, investments, blah, 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 blah. Given what I know now, would I opt into them? If not, what would need to be true for me to say yes? That's your action plan. Make those things come true. That's the fastest path forward. Take your foot off the effing brake so that when you do come around and push harder on the gas, you take off without wasting resources, because driving around with the brake on is torching, just hemorrhaging fuel. And if there's no conceivable way, some things you can't change, right? Would I opt into, this is an example that Tina and Dan and some others might resonate with. Would I own my CPA firm, accounting firm? No, I would not opt into that. What would need to be true? Taxes would need to go away. All right, well, we can't change that. So then the move is, how do I get out of my accounting firm? You can't drive around with your foot on the brake. I mean, you can, but then you have to know that you're doing it and you forfeit the right to complain. So I encourage you to think about the case framework. Where am I being an a-hole? By executing and then trying to figure out what the hell I just executed. It's the silliest behavior. And then blowing up everybody else because of it. I have very, very low tolerance for that in my world. You can go do whatever you want in your world. No judgment. Just, you want to go do dumb stuff, go do dumb stuff far away from me. And the investor frame. Where am I violating my own economic and principles? Because it's convenient. Because it's just the way things have been. And that's the homework. Where are you violating your own principles? And remember, there are things that you're doing that maybe were aligned with your principles at the time, but you have grown as a human. That's your job as a human, is to grow. That's what you should have been doing this whole time between when you started the thing and now. And your economic and your personal principles may have changed, and that's okay. Recognize it and realize that that thing that you've just always done is now an e-brake, so that you can remove the e-brake. Okay. Where are you violating your own economic personal principles? And just think about the case framework a little bit. So you're going to journal about that. Now, a few things. CCA enrollment. There is a we're starting to get deposits in. If you want to know about it, the link is in the description. It's a Telegram group with a pinned post. There will be more information, but you just drop in that link. It's a very robust program. There's an open discussion tomorrow. It'll probably be on Zoom for Nicsmas. We may stream it. I don't really want to do all that complicated stuff and set it all up. I may just send out a Zoom link. You're welcome to have your camera on, off, be a fly on the wall, participate. We're just going to open up some dialogue, help close some loops, and really this is part of my contact with reality. I need to hear what people are thinking. I need to hear what they're asking. I need to hear how they're asking it so that I can best show up for the next 6 days. It's really important for me to show up for the next 6 days because Nicsmas Day surprise, I will not be showing up publicly after Nicsmas very often. My time and attention belongs at a much deeper level with much fewer people, and those fewer people, like the CCA program, right? Can we really get 8 to 12 people that truly understand and have mastered these tools and toolboxes so they can go out and help hundreds of others, and those hundreds of others can help thousands of others. So the way my personal, if you understand diffusion of innovations, the way that I have my impact, it's not by swimming upstream. Again, foot on the brake. I cannot talk to mass market. I cannot handle the fact that people only half listen. I have to work with a very select few people that really are committed to curiosity and really committed to being useful instead of being right and all that stuff. So I'll talk about how that works at Nicsmas, but CCA is probably the most efficient path. So if you want to learn about that, open discussion tomorrow, and December 28th, there will be 2 sessions, one in the morning for everybody, one in the PM. Just for a select few, it'll be VIP. So that's anybody that has put down a deposit for the CCA and anybody that is enrolled in Nicsmas Decentralized. I'll give you all that information as soon as I have it, meaning when I know the times. I think it's a Tuesday. Okay. Case it. Understand the case process. What everybody's going to do is they're going to try to find the right way to do it. Am I doing this right? Please pay attention. There's not necessarily a right way to do it. This is just a way to organize your thoughts so you can figure out how to stop being an a-hole. And when I say being an a-hole, I mean stop acting in a way that gets you further from what you want. My definition of an a-hole is somebody that says, I really want to go north, and they keep walking south. And they get louder and louder, and they blow up everybody's day, and they cause a bunch of distractions, and they waste everybody's time, and their behavior is just getting them further from what they keep saying they want. That's an a-hole to me, because the ripple effect is enormous. It's enormous. It doesn't have to be malicious to be extremely damaging. That's the problem. Somebody being malicious, at least they're saying, I'm going to be an a-hole, and they go out and be an a-hole, and shame on them. Those people suck. I stay away from them. But they're not as dangerous as the ones that go, but I just am so nice. I'm so nice and kind, and I just really want a thing. And then they behave in direct opposition from what they say they want. That is 1,000,000 times more dangerous over time. They have no idea the damage they're doing. It's just a wake of destruction. And it's really hard to tie it back to the source because it's diffusion of responsibility. It's a diffusion of responsibility. It's an application of responsibility, and it's usually really nice people that are not trying to be difficult. They just don't have a framework, and they're completely unaware of who they are, where they're at, where they want to be. That's what we want to avoid. We want to avoid being that person. I do anyway, and that's my... I want to help people identify what they actually want and then get it. And then if they choose, they also have the toolbox to turn around and help other people do the same. That's all I got. You guys are fantastic. I will see you tomorrow. It might be a Zoom link, but it'll be same time. It'll be 9 a.m., just so you guys know. Cool.